After years of waiting, we finally have a new Paranormal Activity movie, but is it any good? Hey there guys, and welcome back to Dino Review. So this week I got to sit down and watch a new Paranormal Activity movie, Next of Kin. Overall, I gotta say I did really enjoy this one. I actually had a blast with it. I thought it was quite scary. It was quite original with its story elements compared to the rest of the series, and it was just a lot of fun. The story follows a documentary filmmaker as she heads to a secluded Amish community in the hopes of meeting her long lost mother and her extended family. Now, following a string of strange occurrences and discoveries, she soon realizes the community that's welcomed her in may not be as it seems. As I said, I did enjoy the movie overall, and my first kind of big positive with this one is just a different tone and feel of the film. The plot is much different than any other Paranormal Activity movie we'd gotten up until that point. It is quite different. It's a completely different story, a completely different setting, and it in no way links back to the original film. Now, I did have my issues with that, being a fan of the original movies, but also I thought it was quite refreshing. The movie at times felt a little bit like a hybrid between Resident Evil, The Blair Witch Project, and Paranormal Activity. I think there was a lot of different genres and a lot of different story elements that were mixed in together. Whether that worked all the time is one case, but what I liked about it was just it was refreshing and it was quite different. I do respect the filmmakers for trying something new with this property. Whether it worked, we'll see down the line, but I just thought it was quite original. The strange community as well added a bit of an extra layer to the entire film, where we had a completely different villain we had to worry about. We knew there was a mystery and there was a story going on, but we weren't just expecting a ghost to come into the plot and start banging and shaking things all around us. We'd seen that with previous movies quite a bit. We kind of knew what was happening and what to expect, so I thought that was a nice detour and just something different for the franchise. I also thought the movie had gorgeous visuals, and by far this is the most visually pleasing of the entire franchise. Just how they use the camera in certain parts of the film, but also how they bring in new techniques. We have drone shots in this one, we have slow-mo shots. There's a lot of stuff going on that they just bring forward to the franchise, and you've always had that with Paranormal Activity. I think as the series has evolved and it's gone through different generations, we do see different camera work, so I enjoyed that they continued that on. But I just think there was something about this one visually where it looked absolutely stunning from the beginning right up until the end. Now, the movie also has a lot of jump scares and they work for the most part. There was a lot of times where I jumped out of my seat in this one, but I'm a fan of jump scares. I know some people aren't, and they might not like the Paranormal Activity movies because of that, but I thought they actually used jump scares quite well throughout the whole film. Because it was an extra mystery with this community, you were constantly kind of on this journey with this main character trying to figure out what was happening, and you weren't just waiting for the usual jump scares you'd get in a Paranormal Activity film. Instead, there was a lot more to this one. There was a lot more threads that you could pull apart to get to the overall story. When the jump scares work, they work in spades, but at the same time, this is a lot of recycled tension, a lot of recycled jump scares. We've seen quite a bit of them before, and we kind of know what to expect. Things get late into the night, somebody goes investigating, and then strange occurrences happen. So they do that quite a lot in the movie, but still what I like is when they pull it off extremely well. Overall, are the jump scares the newest, most natural, original jump scares we've seen? Not by a long shot. We've seen them before, we know how they work, but they are still quite effective. The action as well is on a much bigger scale in this one, particularly in the last act of the movie. As I said, there's a lot of different plot threads, there's a lot of different characters, so the scale at the end is absolutely huge. As for the story, that is a bit of a hit and miss. For me, I enjoy horror video games, and this one actually reminded me quite a lot of them, particularly first-person shooter games. There's even a scene in this movie where somebody has to go down into a well, and it looks like it's been taken literally from the last Resident Evil game. So there's a few parts of this movie where, although it is quite original, it's a new story thread, you also feel like you've seen quite a lot of it before. It does kind of feel like these different horror movies and horror games were just meshed into one, and the filmmakers tried to make what they could of it. It's a little bit like they wanted to make a Midsommar movie mixed in with some Blair Witch, Resident Evil and Paranormal Activity. So although I definitely commend the filmmakers for going down a different route and trying something new, it still does at times come across as something we've seen before. Now, as for my negatives to the film, that is my biggest one. That the movie at times just felt like a mix of different genres and it didn't know what it wanted to be. It felt like the filmmakers wanted to make a movie very similar to Midsommar, but with Blair Witch, Resident Evil and Paranormal Activity elements. It's a bit of a mess at times, it's a bit jumbled, and you are pretty much always waiting to see how it's going to link back to the original movie. And that never comes. There is no link at all to the previous movies in the series. So I think fans of the franchise in particular will be disappointed with that. I enjoy these movies, I enjoy the series, but I would never call myself a die-hard fan of Paranormal Activity. I followed all of these movies, but honestly I don't remember a whole lot of the story thread that goes through the previous entry. So I think if you're a fan you might be disappointed, but even if you're not, this is a good fun movie. It has some great jump scares, but still, as I said, it feels like we've seen it a million times before. The movie has a lot of tension, it has some great jump scares, but if you know what to expect, you pretty much know where the movie's going to go. There was a huge twist towards the end of the movie that you could pretty much tell was coming for most of the film. My last negative is the characters, and particularly the character decisions in this film. I've seen a lot of horror movies throughout the years, but I've never seen so many characters make really illogical, stupid decisions as I have in this one. And I get it's a horror movie, they need to make these decisions to get to the jump scare or the big moment, but a lot of it just didn't make any sense. With the technology these characters have, even when they're outside the community in the village, they just make really random, silly decisions that don't make sense, but they are clearly there just to drive the plot forward. So the characters I thought were actually quite enjoyable, but it was their decision making that just let them down. Overall though, I will say this is not by far the worst in the series. I've seen much worse Paranormal Activity movies, but it's also not the best. It's a fun horror movie if you like some good jump scares and you like a good mystery. But beyond that, you will have seen it all before. It is quite repetitive, and although it's original for going in a new direction, it's something we've seen a million times. But guys, if you have seen this one, what did you think of it? Make sure you let me know in the comments down below. And where would you rank this one in the franchise overall? If you haven't seen it, do you think you'll go check it out? Make sure guys you let me know. Remember as well, if you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, you can click any of those links down below. And I will see you guys in the next one.